Hi everyone, welcome to our final unit in economics. In this unit, we're going to be talking about international trade. Today's topic is looking at developed versus developing nations. So we're going to look at some characteristics that kind of put countries into one category or another, or sometimes countries fit into both categories. So make sure you're in your interactive notebook and you're following along. All right, we're on page 2 of your interactive notebook. And again, today we're talking about developed versus developing countries. We're gonna have to enunciate today. All right, let's start off with our essential question. Why are some countries developed and some developing? On page 2, yours is set up just like mine on the screen, and we're gonna compare what a developed and a developing country look like. Our criteria for comparison includes wealth, population growth, ability to afford food and shelter, access to healthcare, education, technology, the strength of the economy, and the location it can be found in the world. So let's go ahead and start comparing. In a developed country, there is going to be a higher wealth than there is in a developing country. So this means that GDP is growing and thriving in a developed country. In a developing country, it might just not be growing as fast. No country is locked into being a developing country forever. There's definitely been countries that were developing and then are now considered developed. So this just means they might be kind of below or behind the curve a little bit, but that doesn't mean that they can't get there. Access or population growth. In a developed country, we're going to have lower population growth than in a developing country, which has higher population growth. And this could come down to the simple concept of possibly in a developing country, they have lack of medicine, lack of healthcare, lack of education. Whereas in a developed country, there are all of those things established. Ability to afford food is going to be higher in a developed country and lower in a developing country. That'll kind of go back hand in hand with wealth. Same thing for the ability to afford shelter. Higher in a developed and lower in a developing. And again, these are all general statements. There might be some anomalies in each in a developed and developing country, but for the most part, in a developed country and a developing country, these statements are going to be true. Access to healthcare in a developed country is going to be higher, lower in a developing country. Access to education is going to be higher in a developed country and lower in a developing country. The strength of the economy for a developed country is going to be strong. Again, there's wealth, there's education, there's access to technology, medical care, you name it. So that's going to lead and feed into the strength of the economy. It's going to be weak in the developing countries, and that's also going to make these developing countries more reliant on other developed countries. And that's something we'll be talking more about in this unit because it does feed into why are nations trading around the world. Access to technology is going to be high in developed country and lower in developing countries. Again, going hand in hand with what we said with the strength of the economy. We're going to be developing countries again are going to be more dependent on developed countries in the realm of technology as well. Lastly, the location of most developed countries, and again, I say most, there might be some that are kind of out there that are kind of these outliers, but generally the location in the world of developed countries are going to be in the northern and western hemispheres. And then the developing countries are going to be in the southern and eastern hemispheres. Again, there are some outliers, but generally that's where they lie. Now, last thing I want to talk about, it's not on your sheet, so there's not a place to fill in. So just now you get to listen to Dr. Pro. Some of the factors that are going to contribute to economic growth, going back to that first idea with the wealth of a nation. Investment in physical and human capital are going to go into economic growth of a nation. New technologies, economic freedom, strong incentives, competitive markets, low inflation, political stability, and free trade. So all of these things are going to help a developed country continue to grow economically. And by growing economically, it's going to help them stay in that developed category. So in this unit, we're going to talk more and more about trade and why it's important. And so it's not just necessarily like, oh, I trade because I want it. There's going to be economic reasons for why and economic decision making that comes out of it. So make sure you check us out in our next episode and make sure all of this is in your interactive notebook. Thanks for watching.